I knew at the time that smoking wasn't good for me anyway. And I knew that, but I was in a state of rebellion. So regardless to what my mother gave to me, I was always looking for avenues around what she was saying. So it didn't matter what she said to me, I was still looking for a way through. So sometimes we give our children avenues out based on our behaviour as well. So when we close off those avenues, we leave them no excuse to rebel.
Well, that's the key thing that I was saying about parental guidance, because as children will always try and find a way around.
Yeah,
they will always try and seek the lowest level. Yeah. Because as children, children are not really civilized yet.
Yeah.
Children will behave on their appetites. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I don't want to do this no more. I'm just fed up. You know. So that is really the job of a child.
Yeah.
But the job of a parent is to civilize that child and to guide that child. And the best way to guide that child is to be guided ourselves. And we were saying last week that, many of us as parents, or many black people today, particularly, are saying, well, I ain't part of no religion. I ain't into no religion. Religion means to realign oneself to the standard of Allah God. And we're saying, well, we're rejecting religion. We are rejecting parental guidance, but we want to guide you as parents, which doesn't really work.
And children watch that. They watch that. I watch, brothers and sisters, I watch my children watching me when my husband asks me to do something. I watch them watching me when you ask me for a drink of water or something. I watch them watching. When you say, sister, can you do this for me? I look at them, looking at me. Even if I've just sat down and you say, can you pass me this? I look at their faces and they watch as I respond to you. And if I go like that, they'll see that and they'll do that and they'll copy that as well. And I always use that example with the children. Listen, you see me, I always serve you. And in me serving you, I'm teaching you how to serve one another as well. Follow the example. But that means that I've got to make sure that I'm trying to set a good example. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect all the time, because we're not. But we are not. But we try. We try.
And also they watch me to see whether I will serve you back also. Is it a one-way thing? Does mother have to serve him because she's a woman? I see them watching. I see our sons watching, when, sometimes you may ask me to do something and they look, who's in charge here, But, we guide our children by the guidance that we follow, and we serve one another. And I let them know that, when I'm out on the plantation doing my work, I'm doing my work so that I can bring the finances home so, we can live as a family. And I show them the balance of how it works. And that's extremely important. If we're living in a single parent family, we can't show them that balance, So a lot of us today are coming up in that single parent, situation.
Yeah.
Which leads to an imbalance. I can't see the role that a father plays. I can't see why it's important.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up with one. This is what our children are saying today.
Yeah. So. And I didn't see that either, because I didn't, and my biological father didn't live with us. He lived with us up until I was about 8 or something. So I didn't see much of his role within the home, and he wasn't really involved with us. But in watching you and in watching Elijah gravitating towards his father, and Elijah growing alongside his father, and watching how much input the father has with the sons, with the children, full stop, because he has that input with the male and the female.
Definitely.
But I'm also watching how Elijah's looking at the way that you eat, the way that you stand, the way that you come and hug me, the way that Elijah said to me, Mother, I've got to hug you like this because my father said that if you hug like this, then you don't get your chin in the way. So he's watching, and he's watching how to approach a female. He's doing that so that when he's a father now, he's going to be looking at himself hugging his wife and his children watching him. So it's like a domino effect. Like everything that we do has an effect on our children.
Definitely. Parental guidance, brothers and sisters, that's the way we need to be looking at parental guidance, And also when we don't follow the guide that is coming in the scriptures and the holy books, we're following Satan's guide. And this is what we looked at last week, the PG tips, the PG tips monkeys acting out of their characters, trying to be something else, aping, Planet of the Apes. All of it comes into play here. So we don't want PG tips. We want parental guidance. Okay, that brings us into the third part, this week's final part of this trilogy. And this is War Games 3, and it's entitled Checkmate. the rules of engagement.
Ooh.
Very serious. You know, if we're playing war games, you know, war games have our ultimate aim. And war games, you know, if you're going to have a war or a battle, you have to know how to engage and when to engage, when to disengage, when is it okay, yeah? And you know, there's a saying, and I'm going to read from my notes again, which are down here. In order to have peace, we must be prepared to war. That's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
In order to have peace, you must be prepared for war. If you're prepared for war, be prepared for peace. But you can't have peace without war, without going through that battle, without going through that struggle. In order to have peace, and this is saying it in another way, in order to have peace, we must submit to the parental guidance. We want peace, we want to stop the killing, or we say we want to stop the killing, but we're not prepared to submit ourselves to guidance in order to stop the killing.
But isn't that because sometimes we lose respect for those who are guiding us and leading us? Because sometimes, like as a teenager, I'm thinking back to when I was a teenager, and there were some things that my mother didn't understand, or I didn't think she understood, and she didn't transmit to me that she understood what I was going through. So that means
Could you give us an example?
Well, even in terms of like smoking, and she'd say to me, "Well, don't smoke," and she would be saying to me, "Don't smoke," but her husband was smoking. So how can I follow that example of her not smoking when she's living and being with someone who's smoking and smoking in the environment as well?
What she was saying wasn't an example. An example isn't something you say.
Yeah.
An example is something you do. So you were following the example, but you just weren't following what she was saying, because what she was saying didn't match up with what she was doing.
Okay, so I took the path of least resistance.
No, you didn't take the path of least resistance. You followed the guide that she was setting up. But if she was really serious about what she was saying, that standard would have been applied across the board.
Hey, that's my mum. That's my mum. Hey. Yeah, okay.
All praises due to Allah. You know, we used to fight in school if somebody mentioned our mum.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, because that's how unstable we were. That's how insecure we were. And some of us, you know, even in Islam are like that. And if you mention something about Islam,
my mother,
you know, turns into violence.
Yeah.
When really we're supposed to reason these things in the best of manner. If we want peace, we must be prepared for war. Peace isn't going to come without that struggle. We have to go through the struggle in order to get to peace. We won't be able to just say something and it come about. Because the mind of the child is inquiring. And, you know, even us in the Nation of Islam, they see us as children in Islam, if they even accept that we're Muslims. If we are children in Islam, if you accept that we are children, our minds are inquiring. So therefore, we have to be prepared for that struggle that's going to come in order to achieve that balance. And we must have the best arguments. The Holy Qur'an has the best arguments. So therefore, this is where we go.
And it tells us to argue in the best manner, because there's nothing wrong with arguing, but it's only when we start to get personal and we come away from the principles that we're arguing about, that's when it starts to become damaging.
So the aim, really, of the teacher, of the parent, is to checkmate the child with the best arguments. Now, chess is a strategic game. You know, you notice our children want to play war games on their consoles. How many of them playing chess?
Yeah.
How many parents know how to play chess? That is the strategic war game. If we want to play war games now, let's cut out the Bloodlust 7. Let's cut out the Zombies 9 or whatever it is that they're playing, you know. I don't know what the names are, but, you know, their names are like this.
Yeah.
Why don't we sit our children down to a game of chess? The most strategic game, war game, battle game, this is about nations. On the board you have the king. On the board you have the queen. You have the knight. You have the bishop. You have the rook. You have the pawns. And each one of them has a particular move.
Yeah.
They have a particular area where they can work out. We're showing our children how the nation fits together. We're showing our children in playing chess how each one moves out in a specific area, and how that specific area impacts the whole game.